Welcome to the 2-Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter and 3%, in which we take one giant book, break it down section by section, bit by bit, talk about it, analyze it, have fun, make jokes. This season we are doing ARDOR by Vladimir Nabokov, and I'm Chad Post from Open Letter Books, joined as always by Brian Wood, author of Joytime Killbox.
I'm back from the dead.
Yeah, how are you doing, man?
Well, I went to Anti-Earth and came back. I'm feeling all right. I'm good.
Ready to go. You're gonna. Did you hear? I know you do not have COVID, which is good. Just to relieve anyone's concerns out there about your.
But not knowing is so much better than knowing. Being certain about something. I like just being in the area of not. It's like reading this book. I don't know. So great. I can just enjoy myself. But I'm not dying of COVID. I am living with it. I am out there just doing everything I want to do, because I don't know if I have it or not. So I can still go out and do anything I want to do. And so
it sounds like the best plan, the best advice for people.
I went to a bunch of rallies. I yelled at some people at a Starbucks, living my best life.
You need to get on a plane without a mask and start a confrontation. That is my favorite subgenre of TMZ videos is the people on a plane getting in fights.
I killed an international terrorist and then I'm protesting Delta flights, just typical American shit.
Whatever. I can't remember who it was now, but was it OBJ? One of the football players, they asked him about the virus because he had sat out for a couple of days. He's like, oh, I wasn't feeling good, so I thought I'd do it. But that virus ain't going to be part of me, and that virus is scared of me, as scared of me as I am of it, and it's not going to happen. He's treating it like an opponent.
That is true. I'm mostly immune to it, I think. So I'm basically immune.
They tell me I'm immune to it. I don't know how long that lasts.
I heard that maybe there's some of that anti-malaria medication is in gin, so I've just been doing a strict diet of gin. Some of the gin drinks have egg whites in it, so there's some protein.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling great.
I like how you said you knew it wasn't COVID because whiskey wasn't helping.
Yeah, exactly.
every cold can be defeated with whiskey.
No, I'm good. What's new with you? It's been a while. What's new on the open letter front?
Nothing really. I mean, it's been a slow couple weeks.
What is this wild book I saw that's coming out that you guys have coming out?
The Johan Orpy book?
Which one?
Johan Orpy, The Adventures and Misadventures of the Admirable and Extraordinary Johan Orpy, Conquistador and Founder of New Catalunya.
Yes. Can you? Okay, all of that. It's like a Borat title. Like a Borat movie. Can you do a quick, not boring commercial about it? Because I just saw a couple of the you had done a tweet about it if somebody wants to do a review of it, and it looks insane. I'm really interested.
It's super insane. So it's Johan Orpy is a real historical figure who did go from Spain to Venezuela and found New Catalonia. So it's based on his life, but it's a telling of his life that's completely wild and anachronistic and funny. It's like Mason and Dixon or the Sotweed Factor by John Barth. So there's moments where he meets Cervantes and things don't line up, and there's a UFO that appears. There's all kinds of crazy shit in it. But the thing that's most noteworthy is that the dialogue is all in fake, made up, medieval Catalan that's not real, and it's not consistent. So the translator had to invent a fake dialect for everything, and it's and again, not consistent but funny. It's all designed to be funny. So the way that things are spelled is weird, with Y's and W's and stuff, and it's very formalized, but it's one of the funniest books I've ever read. We should do it for this as a funny book.
That sounds like it'd be a cool podcast one to do. Especially I'd love to discuss some of the how you translate this or making up languages.
It was wild. I asked Mara Faye Leatham was the translator, and at one point when she sent us the first, she's like, I'm almost done, but I'm going to give you the first 50 pages because I want some feedback and to see if this is working, and you'll know why. And I started reading it. And I was like, this is a home run. You can't just kind of translate this. You have to invent something. And it was incredible. So most of the editing was turn it up here or turn it down here, or make it this part's a little too confusing, or you fell off of the off of the part in this section, and it's really wonderful. It's very funny. But I asked her if she used like what she used to create it, and I don't think that she used a template of anything. I think she's sort of like went with like as wild as it could be, but I don't know. That can't be right. We'll have to talk to her. And Max has been on the podcast. He was on the 4x4 podcast.
Oh, cool. When does it come out?
January.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
So January like 20th or something like that. Yeah, so it'd be perfect.
When do you want reviews of that book to come out?
What's that?
When do you want the reviews written for that?
January, February.
Okay.
That'd be ideal. So if anyone's looking to review it, we have a few copies. We also have the PDF and the Edelweiss version that people can download. But yeah, that would be great. It's one of the most interesting books. I've not seen anything like this in ages.
Before you think about writing an irreverent review, how long is it?
It's like 400 pages.
I don't think I can't do that.
Too long. There's a lot of pictures. There's pictures in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
The pictures make it 390 pages.
After this, and then I got the copy of JR you sent me came in. Oh, good Lord, that is a book.
It weighs 2 pounds.
Yeah, and you can tell they fudged the margins on it, and the typeface is really small. And I was like, this is like a 1,200 page book. They put into 700 pages. So
this is an old man story. I told my class today, but I'll share it here too, is that I have been reading A Frolic of His Own, the last Gaddis book that I hadn't read, that won the National Book Award when it came out in like 1984, ? Whenever it was, like it won the National Book Award. It's very funny. It's like a satire of law and of intellectual property rights and plagiarism. And it's all his like normal themes and great, except that it's not been reprinted since like 1984. And it's on like bright ass white paper. That's like doesn't feel like acid free at all. Just like bright white with font that's like got to be like 8 point. Like it takes you like minutes to read a page. Like I have to take off my glasses to be able to like see it clearly. It was like straining my eyes. So I ended up buying the Kindle version just to be able to have like a normal size font to be able to read, which is sad. Which made me feel sad.
Self-published books you see that are bright white paper with bright black, like 100% black.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, you did this yourself.
It's like this was typed.
This is like just reading a sheet of paper printed off of a printer. It's like, is this an essay you turned into a class that you made into a book? What the hell is this? What's going on with the rundown? What's going on with ARDOR?
So yeah, so we're gonna do we did last week because you were sick, so we're just gonna push everything back 1 week. So today we're gonna cover part 2, chapters 3 through 7. So 3 through 7 or 3 through 6. I mean, and this one I when I first started reading this last week, so it's been a while. Like it's been a while. I read this like before when we were going to do it, before everything kind of fell apart. Yeah. And so it's a bit vague, but I remember the very first part, the first chapter, this third chapter, of being like, holy shit, this is like 1,001 boutique brothels. It's like the whole scheme in this first section in chapter 3 is about putting together the what do they call it? The Venus Club of like just like around the world, all these little brothels where all these rich men can just go and bang people, and just describing in intricate detail like all of the brothel nature, the logistics.
It kind of felt like almost like riffing on Tropic of Cancer.
Oh yeah.
But like, with how stilted all the language was, like obviously like the joke is the juxtaposition of the language with the subject. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's a whorehouse. Essentially, it's a whorehouse, but it's like written about like, it's like a Bill of Rights or something. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Weird, flowery, strange language. But it starts with that weird kind of mythology of some person named David Van Veen, which is of no relation to the Veens in our rambling romance. I like that turn of phrase. Rambling romance.
Which is basically what's been going on. But yeah, isn't it his son?
And then Eric. It's always Eric, right? Good Lord.
Eric's the one who puts it together. Bill of Venus, an organized dream. But one of my favorite parts of this. So let's read it so that you can put it. This paragraph has like one of my favorite jokes in it. To put it bluntly, the boy had sought to solace his first sexual torments by imagining and detailing a project derived from reading too many erotic works found in a furnished house his grandfather had bought near Vents from Count Tolstoy, a Russian or Pole, namely a chain of palatial brothels that his inheritance would allow him to establish all over, quote, both hemispheres of our Callipygian globe. The little chap saw it as a kind of fashionable club with branches, or in his poetical phrase, florimores, in the vicinity of cities and spas. Membership was to be restricted to noblemen, handsome and healthy, with an age limit of 50, which must be praised as very broad-minded on the poor kid's part, paying a yearly fee of 3,650 guineas, not counting the cost of bouquets, jewels, and other gallant donations. Resident female physicians, good-looking and young, and this is it, quote, of the American secretarial or dentist assistant type, would be there to check the intimate physical condition of the caresser and the caressed, another felicitous formula, as well as their own, if, quote, the knees arose. Sorry. Oh, I love that. That I think that is funny, like the sort of highfalutin nature of it, but also like I love of the American secretarial or dentist assistant type. Like that's such a specific sort of like fetish of like a particular thing.
Yeah, especially like when you think this coming Nabokov being this is the 1960s when he's writing this, and there's definitely that cliche or the stereotype of the executive assistant or the dental assistant. Or I'm
going to say something not appropriate. Does Pornhub have a dental assistant channel? Like that one's the one I don't. Secretary got it. Like that's so
secretary. Sure. I mean, it's like nurses or it's. I think it probably just plays up on some fetish of being served or helped in some kind of way, right? Like servitude of some kind.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Not to try to break down the psychology of pornographic habits of the American male, but
the other day we were talking about Aiden loves Minecraft, and I was like, I wonder if Aiden's ever like looked for like Minecraft porn. I was like, I wonder if that exists. And I did one Google search, and it sure does. It is there.
Creepers, I know that. So. Yeah,
the creeper is just a penis with 4 balls. So like, yeah, they're really into that.
Yeah, I'm officially old because I barely know what a meme is, and then the memes that are out there, I don't know what they reference because it's usually games, and I haven't played a game since like Contra. So I'm like way behind.
You're like still solving the Nicaraguan problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. So they make this after Eric dies. His grandfather like sets out to like make the clubs all over, and one of the members is Van, whose name we've been mispronouncing the entire time.
Whatever, that's the whole point of this book, is mispronouncing things and doubling things.
So I don't remember where it is in here, but I remember sending you the message that like it says that it rhymes with like that's Ivan, but like Von and Ada and Ardor all have that same A sound.
Oh, the swallowed R. Oh.
Yeah. So Von, VAHN or whatever, if you'd pronounce it that way. Von is a member of these clubs. I
just feel fortunate to be able to talk right now and not be like hacking. So whatever, Von or Van, that's fine. So like this was all fun and good and good, like, but what was the point of this chapter, do you think?
Oh, I had 2 thoughts about it when I first read it last week that I'm remembering right now from this one note that I wrote that is illegible, is that I think it's to contrast his sexual liberty with her not. Like, which is coming like with all the talk of like her and her sister, and that like their sexual liberties are very different. That for the male, it's set up as like this, elaborate international house of horrors all over the world for them to like go frequent, and for her it's like a secretive it's an
IHOP.
It's IHOP,
International House of Paramour.
Shoots.
I took it a little higher brow. I went with Paramour, but whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, you can be that way. I'm sorry, officer. I was just here with my paramour.
Exactly. I was having a glass of brandy with a paramour. What's the big deal?
This Paramore just happened to be in my car. Yeah, I thought that. And then the other thing is that do they kill this woman at the end?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I have a lot of like crazy conspiracy theory sort of interpretations of shit recently, but that says, okay, so something in Italian mumbled the bod on the bed in the local dialect that Bond understood better than Italian. The child in his arms stirred, and he pulled his opera cloak over her. In the grease-reeking darkness, a faint pattern of moonlight established itself on the stone floor near his forever discarded half-mast lying there in his pump-shod foot. And then just kind of goes on and like doesn't end. The ruinous villa no longer bore any resemblance to Eric's organized dream, but the soft little creature in Bond's desperate grasp with Ada. And I said this, I just wrote it on the side. Does he suffocate her? He puts out her candle. Oh, there's something, I think there's something else that referenced like putting out a candle. And it reminded me of whatchamacallit, Othello. But that's probably just bullshit reading.
Maybe, but both I know there's probably been lots, but it seems like most of the Shakespearean references in this has been Hamlet, right?
Hamlet, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote snuff out her candle. Oh, that's what that means. That's what that is in Italian. The first word, smorciana la scandala, is in the back saying it means snuff out her candle. Remember the bod on the bed in the local dialect. And then he pulls his cloak over her. And that made me think that was like a secret, like a truly evil killing.
Could be sexual as well, though, right?
Could be sexual as well. Could be like, yeah.
Almost like masochistic, or in a way, but yeah.
Right. Could be anything, but it shows his like venality, I guess, and like his access to sexual stuff in a way that's not the case for Ada. And that's what I thought like kind of the point was. And to make it so flowery and so like extravagant is to kind of emphasizes that sort of, you know, this is the gentleman club version, and we're putting all these nice words around it and these like nice ideas and blah blah, but it's really just like a fuck house.
Yeah, and in some ways it's almost like he's trying to recapture what he had in Artists. Because I picked up on this on page 353, the middle paragraph. I had frequented bordels since my 16th year, but although some of the better ones, especially in France and Ireland, rated a triple red symbol in Nug's guidebook. What is it, like the Michelin guide for the Michelin guide for brothels? Nothing about them pre-announced the luxury and multitude of my first Villa Venus. It was the difference between a den and an Eden.
Yeah.
Right. And we had talked about all those Eden-like qualities that was written about before.
Yep.
Him kind of being the snake in Eden. So it's kind of interesting that it's mentioned again.
Yeah, absolutely.
With this place.
Absolutely. I had a question of like, I didn't know what this one was, and I'm sure that someone does. In 1905, it's the 355 towards the bottom. Wait. Oh, God, I forgot this. It's been a while. I marked this passage and just put, whoa, this is gross. Her girlish crupper proved sadly defaced by the varicolored imprints of bestial clawings and flesh twistings. But worst of all, the little fellow could not disguise a state of acute indigestion, marked by unappetizing dysenteric symptoms that coated his lover's shaft with mustard and blood, the result, no doubt, of eating too many green apples.
Lord.
Yeah, but right below that has, in 1905, a glancing blow was dealt Villa Venus from another quarter. The personage we have called Ritkov or Veratic had been induced by the ailings of age to withdraw his patronage. I don't get that, if that's a joke.
Erotic? Is it kind of like erotic?
Erotic or erotic and Ritkov? I don't know. That one was beyond me. But I marked it. But then I don't know if there's anything else with that section. But there's
a transition, right? Eric's organized dream, and then we go to the next. What are dreams?
Yes.
Which we know was kind of his thesis for like his first book, right?
Yeah. This is great. This is the part where I thought that maybe where I'm again surprised that Rodrigo hasn't read this book.
I know. I almost emailed him about this passage, but he doesn't want to read this book, so I'm not gonna bother. Plus, he's like, how many years ago did he write the dream part? He's over dreams. He's on to
Remember the remembered part, which is
Rick and Morty season 5 or something. I don't know.
Exactly. This is great though. What are dreams? A random sequence of scenes, trivial or tragic, dyadic or static, fantastic or familiar, featuring more or less plausible events, patched up with grotesque details, and recasting dead people in new settings. And then in reviewing the more or less memorable dreams I've had during the last 9 decades, I can classify them by subject matter into several categories, among which 2 surpass the others in generic distinctiveness. There are the professional dreams and there are the erotic ones.
Professional and erotic.
Solid. In the 20s, yeah. So there, you wanted to talk about the dream part. Oh, this is where we pronounce Ban as Ban instead of Ban as in this chapter. But you wanted to talk about the dreams in relation to John Gardner's thing.
Oh, no, yeah. But just thinking out loud, which is obviously a dangerous thing to do, but I find it interesting that he was saying there's 2 types, professional and erotic. And you look at the previous chapter, it's the mix of professionalism and eroticism. That's
true, yeah.
It's a perfect setup for what he's talking about here next.
Yeah.
Which is kind of his MO, right? With the way he does a lot of things, like set up, payoff. So I find that interesting that's basically the previous chapter we just had.
It's true. I hadn't even thought of that, but that's absolutely true.
When talking about dreams, I just thought it was interesting. I always think about whenever I have to teach fiction, I reference a lot to beginning writers about John Gardner, and he was really big about the fictional dream or dream space. Right? And I'm just paraphrasing and doing it wrong, but like the way I explained it is, when you're writing, you're trying to like create this shared dream that you have with the reader, and you want to get them deeper and deeper into the dream you're creating. And so you want to make it nice and pleasant and flow, and so there's no questions, and they just immerse themselves into the writing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when questions arise, it's almost like you're taking a pen and popping that bubble that you created for them, that dream, and then they're out of it, and you have to try to like get your way back into it.
Right.
Which is why, like, it goes back to that whole Mr. Difficult essay. Like, are you supposed to be a friend to the reader, or is it okay to be challenging to your reader? But I knew that he had a fight with a postmodern writer. It was either Gass or
again?
It
was William Gass,
not Gaddis.
Not Gaddis.
I was excited. I was hoping it was going to be Gaddis that he had a little tussle with, as far as fiction and how fiction is supposed to be written or read. But yeah, this whole part about what are dreams, it really made me think back to that John Gardner philosophy of sharing a dream with a reader.
Is it in Gardner's book too, where he says like, or like, if you never start a book with a dream?
I'm not sure, because there's like 2 main ones. It's the art of fiction and something for like beginning novelist or something, right?
Yeah.
2 big craft books that have all of these ideas in them.
So interestingly enough, this is a tangent but a relevant one. Did you happen to see Ryan Chapman's interview with Martin Amos that came out yesterday in Esquire? Okay, so I'll find it as I talk, but Esquire. Jesus, this is great podcasting. I talked to Ryan a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was even just a week ago, and he was talking about listening to the podcast, and he was saying that like when he interviewed Martin Amos really doesn't like Ada. He thinks that this is like the failure of Nabokov's, like it doesn't work. And I think he's written about it in several places. I'm trying to figure out what the best essay would be to use in like a recap episode when we're done with this, of looking at some of like the criticism. I'll share it when I figure that out. But he didn't like this. And but in his new book, which I can't think of the title of it right now, it is called Inside Story. And Inside Story includes like, it's kind of reminiscent of this in the sense that it was like two books that kind of came together. That
Mm.
there's like the story, there's like a real like recounting of like his friendship with Christopher Hitchens and with Saul Bellow and with like someone else. I forget who the third person was. And then there's like an invented part where it's like this character that fucks like his dad, Kingsley Amos, and him. But that's not true. That's like he invented that. And then interstitially spaced are bits about writing and how to write and like what the like tips for writing. So for instance, there's one that just says, keep an eye on the suffixes. Maintain a safe distance between words ending, say, with ment or ness or ing, and the same goes for prefixes. For words beginning, say, with con or pre or x. Try it. You'll notice that the sentences feel more aerodynamic. So he's kind of got all those like those same things built into this other book. And then it goes on in this article and this interview that I found really interesting towards the bottom is that he talks about reading difficult books. So going back to that Mr. Difficult question, and Martin Amos is like, no, maybe as a kid, we think that that's fun. Like that we seem to like difficult things when we're younger, but like, no, everything should be like real. Like he doesn't like, he specifically says he doesn't like not knowing what is going on. So yeah, so he says,
I feel that way with memes.
Yeah.
I don't get this, man. I'm missing out. I'm really missing out here.
Yeah. So he says, I think social realism is all there is. I'm all for diversity and variety. In principle, let them write difficult novels and experimental novels. I'm not going to read them anymore. You have a great tolerance for it when you're young. You feel proud of yourself. What is the average tolerance for infinite jest? 200 pages in my case. He says, yeah, so here's the other quote. There have been fads for difficulty, almost like a marching song. This idea that we like difficult novels. I thought that was Lionel Trilling who said that, but it wasn't. And it's not true. I don't think we do like difficult novels. We thought we did for a bit, but we don't like them anymore.
It's interesting. I have two like initial reactions to that. And again, if also like kind of out to the listeners, if you have some scholarship or opinion pieces on ARDOR we should read for the recap, I would love to get a little list of that, and we'll post that, and we could discuss the essays. I'm really looking forward to that. But we're going scholarship free until we get to the end, so we can just plow our way through it stupidly. But I remember when I was doing a survey of modern British literature, my favorite by far of all the books we read was Lucky Jim, his dad's book, right? Which is really kind of simple. It's like super simple and straightforward, but it was so enjoyable that I didn't have to think that hard about it. I could just relax and enjoy it, right? Yeah.
He says in this interview is great because he's like, yeah, me and my dad basically, like, if I had been born when my dad was, I would have written his books, and if he had been born when I was, he probably would have written my books.
Wow. Yeah, and I sadly I haven't read much Martin Amos. I'm really naive to his work, so I'll look forward to maybe checking some of it out.
You should check out Money. I will highly recommend Money.
They made that Brad Pitt movie off of that one about baseball.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. No, I'll check that out. Yeah.
But he has one other thing that relates to this, and this is what I was looking for originally. So he says, Ryan asked him about writing about like, you'd really appreciate this. So he's like, when you're getting older and that you're not writing your best, like there's like a bullshit detector. And he's like, there's only so many words. Our vocabulary is limited. Describing someone laughing, for instance, there are only a few words for it. I'm not going to use guffawing or chortle. There's only one good word for smiling, which is smiling. Leering is not bad, but I'm never going to use grinning. The vocabulary gets thin, and it's a chore to enliven it and banalize it. I don't know how you say that. I can imagine getting weary of that. Otherwise, it's joyous. And then Ryan says, so you're not going to make like a Clockwork Orange novel? And he's like, no, nothing experimental. I have no patience for anything experimental or obscure. Above all, obscure. I have to know at all times exactly what's going on. It's why I've been having such an agonizing time trying to scale the great fortress of Faulkner. I'm very committed to the pleasure principle. You read literature to have a good time, or else why would people go on doing it? And I thought that's really interesting in relation to this, because there's a lot of times where I don't know exactly what's going on. Like we sort of do. I mean, most of it's fairly simple, like he's banging his sister. But like there's a lot of like that obscure, that like not having your footing, not knowing where you are. That feeling is something that do like in a lot of books, but I get why people wouldn't like it. And I can see like being older, the less appealing that can seem.
Yeah, but you're also vehemently on the other side of the fence in this argument, right? You enjoy complex, difficult puzzles.
I think that, but they see that's really the question, though, isn't it? Like when we say like we don't like, or when he says we don't like difficult books, what is he talking about precisely? Because like some things that seem difficult to some people might not seem difficult to another. They might seem completely normal. And I've always wondered, like by having grown up reading like more experimental things and not really the average conventional thing, that those things don't seem super complicated to me. They're just like a form of representation that I do enjoy because it is a puzzle.
Like for instance, for this, like I've only read it once, but The Crying of Lot 49, right? Pension. It doesn't make sense, and it's this weird tessellation of puzzles on puzzles and puzzles. But the writing itself, to me, was extremely concrete.
Yes,
it's very straightforward, and I could picture everything, and I know what's happening. I just don't know I don't know the big machine, but I know all the little parts. That all makes sense to me, right? Like it's not vague, it's not unclear. It's very powerful, tightly coiled, terse, beautiful writing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The Pynchon thing is more like the metaphors.
Yeah.
Like how to interpret this, and that can be obscured or like complicated. But like I find the same thing. I mean, some of the books are more complicated than others, obviously, or like have more surreal scenes where you're like, I don't know quite what that is, or like using terminology that you don't know. But like for the most part, I agree. Like it's very concrete. It's just that the second level of it is what makes it really complicated.
And how do you think that applies to this book and what we've read so far?
I think the thing that's obscured to me in this is the Terra anti-Terra stuff still.
Okay.
Like the setting of this and like the place of it is sort of uncertain. Like, and we've run in that in a few different cases. And so like in that sense, I don't know what's going on or what this is, but I don't have any problem following the plot because it is pretty straightforward so far. It's like, but Nabokov does all those like little flourishes and the little trills of like references that are like, sprinkled throughout that can be interpreted and can be like understood. And those things I don't feel like I know until you read like a second or third time.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause again, I think it's fairly straightforward. But then there's the puzzles and the games where you have to stop and slow down and like unpack that and take time with it. And, and if you don't, you'll just miss them and be a little bit lost. And that's kind of where I am because I don't have the time to go through and solve each one and figure out how it all works. I mean, I could with given enough time, but I don't have enough time to do that, unfortunately, right now on this reading of it. And so I know I'm missing out, and I feel like I'm like watching the game, but not really in it in a way.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that because for me, like the writing is so beautiful. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with losing, but I could see where you could lose a reader because it's just like, this is a lot of effort.
I just shared this in the chat, but there is a ARDOR online annotations. It's the website's like got a lot of frames and it's from like a long time ago, but it's the thing that anytime like 1992. 1992 when there's like this part of the website and this part that scrolls and this part that scrolls, but like every time I Google like one of the questions where I'm like, what is this? It leads me back to the same annotation guide. But the annotation guide also is like very extensive. Like it's very long. And there's certain points where it like keeps saying like, oh, here's the first time that X is introduced. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to know that yet. Like I would like to read the annotations after I read the book, maybe.
There was one I looked up and I do not know. It didn't give me necessarily the answer for it, but it was, they were talking about William Shakespeare. So like, again, that's that whole, like, how do they have William Shakespeare on the alternate Earth? Like, so apparently William Shakespeare is inevitable in all universes. Like that just, all right, I can handle that. But then there's like the complete volume of Falkerman.
Oh,
Remember that?
what page is that on?
I'm looking for it right now. I didn't write down the page number, but I underlined it. And I was just trying to look up what's that supposed to be a reference to. And I didn't have time to. All I could do is find where it tells you what page it's on, but I couldn't find what it meant. But it's when he's talking with Lucette in the next chapter.
Okay.
And with the books, but we can get to that when we get to there.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this first this chapter.
It just felt like me like this one was kind of like a setup for, maybe we'll have it towards the end, about the books that he's going to be writing. Like, this is the first time we really get some more of that kind of. There's a little tease of the scholarship about dealing with the insomniacs and the crazies that believe in Terra.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is kind of, I think, that follow up to it, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I think because there's referencing like what he's going to write in the future. He says, hardly existing passing of time feeling. This theme I will also reserve for a later chapter, which I know that there's a long part about his ideas on time. And then one of my favorite lines in here is, my imagination is still strong and serviceable, but my memory is getting shorter and shorter, which I think is really spectacular.
Yeah, because he's like 90 years old or something like that.
Yeah. Just up there a little bit.
Yeah. All right. For running short on time. So then after that, he gets a visit from Lucette.
Yes. And this is where he's in the Department of Therapy for Terra, and one of his old projects, which was the idea of dimension and dementia. And Ratner, whose father, I believe he's been reading books on Terra. The son of that person is a character here. And Lucette comes to visit him because she's really, really up. She's really down for Bond.
Yeah. And then we learned too in this part that she's been, yes, she's this naive child, but she knew what was going on all along. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's been going on for sure.
At the same time, it doesn't, because when they're talking about like their little coded language and stuff, she wants to know what it means, and it's clearly oral sex from the wordplay that is in there. But and she has the blue letter that he knows is Ada's paper, and I love how that's like burning a hole in his mind to try to like. I want to like, he's just like dying to. And like lusting over this letter while Lucette is there. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. Is this the chapter where she talks about how she and Ada had some sexual experiences too? That's the next one.
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh no, yeah. I think that it's in this one. It's in this chapter where it's clear that like she and Ada fooled around a lot as well, and that they were doing their own thing in addition to Vaughn doing Ada, and like they're all kind of in a triangle.
Eesh. I wonder why there hasn't been a movie adaptation of this book. Or, ugh.
Yeah. See, here we go. Next moment they grapple. This is 375. So she's talking about the one day and when she went in there, blah, blah. Next moment they grappled and had such delicious fun that they knew they would be doing it always together for hygienic purposes when boyless and boiling. She taught me practices I had never imagined, confessed Lucette in Rerun Wonder. We interweaved like serpents and sobbed like pumas. We were Mongolian tumblers, monograms, anagrams, Adalucindas. She kissed my crustic while I kissed hers, our heads clamped in such odd combinations that Bridget, a little chambermaid who blundered in with her candle, thought for a moment, though naughty herself, that we were giving birth simultaneously to baby girls. You're Ada bringing one un Rus and no one's Lucette un Brun. Fancy that. So this part is like the Lucette is not as innocent as she had seemed, and Ada is not as straightforward as she had seemed, maybe.
And then Van makes the pun side splitting, which later comes into play when they see his terribly stitched side. Or the
right. Oh yeah, absolutely. yeah, she talks about how they did that a lot, blah, blah, blah. Then he opens the letter finally. And it is a letter saying like someone has asked to marry her to marry Ada. And she's like, you either like, you know, come to me now or it's over.
Which, I mean, spoiler alert from the the beginning family tree that doesn't seem to split very much.
She does get married in the family tree.
Married, and the person mysteriously dies young.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're still like years away from his death, though. But yeah,
this would have been such a fantastic Kubrick film.
Yeah.
I keep thinking back to like Barry Lyndon, like that really boring. I guess the story behind that one was he wanted to make a film on Napoleon.
Right.
And he had done just tons of research on it, and kind of like Nabokov, he did a lot on small 3x5 cards, file them away, like the scenes or whatever, or little like tidbits of facts. And he would have like almost like a Dewey Decimal System of drawers that had all of these cataloged. And he had years and years of Napoleon Bonaparte stuff figured out for this movie he was going to make. And then that one movie, Waterloo, came out and it bombed and flopped apparently. And it's like, well, there goes your Napoleon movie. So he made that boring Barry Lyndon movie instead, like that left over. And all it was just rich people having sex and being debaucherous. Apparently, it was really upsetting the producers because his Napoleon Bonaparte movie was mostly that. It wasn't battle. It was all about like writing letters, bureaucratic stuff, and the elite of the elites being debaucherous and terrible people. Every time I'm reading this, I'm like, this is that. This is the same. This is that life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the Jeffrey Epstein life.
Pizzagate, man.
Pizzagate. They're eating children.
Anti-terrorist style.
Anti-terrorist style. Just wait until QAnon shows up in the next chapter.
Cheese pizza, child, please. See, I mean, that's right. Isn't that how that works?
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know why there's a question about this. This is a fact. Pizzagate.
But yeah, this thing's ramping up towards the end. It's going fast. Like it's really picking up steam.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last chapter that we covered, that's chapter 6, is when he does get back together with Ada. That she comes to Manhattan to where he has taken over. Was it Cordula? Is her name? Cordula Dupre? Yeah, Cordula. He's taken over her flat there, her apartment, and so Ada comes and like boom. There also like is a bit in here where it implies that like Demon was trying to do Ada as well.
Yeah.
His daughter.
Yeah, this is a terrible family.
Yeah, these people are shitty people.
Terrible, terrible people.
Absolutely terrible people.
They're powerful and in control, because that kind of just seems to be the ilk that we get in life, right?
Yep.
Lizard people, just lizard people from the Babylonian Empire, leftover Babylonian Empire.
Yeah.
You'll see it's a whole deep dive.
Will do. Oh my god, I just look at this. So yeah, there's also the thing that Vaughn is sterile. Well,
that would make sense then, because I always wonder, how does nobody ever get pregnant?
Yeah, because it says, amused by the Hecatian diagnose, Vaughn underwent certain tests, and although poo-pooing the symptom as coincidental, all the doctors agreed that Van Veen must be a doughy and durable lover, but could never hope for an offspring. How merrily little Ada clapped her hands. And then they stay there. They're going to be they're back together now. He's in college studying Tara. She's off being an actress and getting hit on and having all that Hollywood life. And now they're back in Manhattan at the end of this part.
Yeah. And this is just the way it's been for a long time, apparently, because I was just watching something with my daughter about ancient Egypt. And we were watching something on King Tut, and apparently they found out through some of the DNA recovered from the different mummies, it was all incest. His family, which led to probably the young death.
Oh yeah.
Or somebody else. They all had the same like genetic malformity or something within them. So powerful people in incest. Pizzagate 2.0, man.
That's a perfect segue into my favorite line from this section.
Yes. Let's do it.
On 394, he was omniscient. Better say omni-incest.
Okay. Very, very funny, Uncle Vladimir.
Uncle Vlad.
I had a couple just real quick. I always thought at some point I'm going to have to use this at a cocktail party. Page 370. Let us not transform a pleasant reunion into a mutual torture.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, fantastic. Like, you have to like have a goblet and swirling it while you say something like that, right? Let us transform a pleasant reunion into a mutual torture. Fantastic line.
It really is.
And bottom of page 368, once a veen, always a veen. It's like they know it. Like they're just well aware of how terrible and lecherous and awful they are. And it is that's the line. It is what it is.
Right? Yeah. We are who we are. With Manny being Manny.
Yeah. So where are we going to next? I'm sorry.
So next week we'll push back the schedule by 1 week, and I'll update the actual list. But we go through the end of part 2.
Okay.
So it's through chapter I think it's 11. Yeah, up to page 446. So we'll be done with part 2, and then we have parts 3, 4, and 5. But parts 4 and 5 are like the last episode because they're both very short.
Gotcha.
So yep. So we're getting there. We are getting there.
All right. And again, any essays on scholarship you think we should be reading for the last episode? I'll look up some. You look up some, and if anybody else has any ideas on some opinions or op-eds on ARDOR, please send it our way so we can read those and have an informed opinion at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who's read it more than once. That can,
being informed.
Yeah, we spent more time with this and understands. Well, thanks, man. This is great to talk and great to get this going again. And next week we'll be doing part 2, the end of part 2, and we'll have a shit.
Or the same one, but there'll be somebody. Cool.
Yeah, next Wednesday is gonna be an event. Tune in. Talk to you soon.
Bye.